you overtrain them. When you do too much of them, you overtrain. And what happens for me, and it may happen for you too, they just start shrinking. And you're thinking, hold on, I'm doing arms twice a week.
Speak for yourself, mate.
But for me, genetically, and I think as well it comes down to genetics, which I always say to people where we originate from. Some people tend to grow arms.
Yeah, I had arms.
White guys don't tend to get arms, but we get legs and calves. Yeah. Whereas black guys, I don't know about Indian guys, you kind of a mix of everything. Yeah. So, but a lot of black guys don't get legs, right? They definitely don't get calves.
That is true, yeah.
Because I've studied evolution of man, and wherever we're from, where we tend to, caveman times would have captured animals, we are adapted to that environment. So hence why a lot of black guys can run super fast, 100-meter sprinters. They don't have calves because they're designed more for catching animals in open plains where there's not jungles, where white people are more from foresty areas. They tend to be more stocky, hold more fat, because it's the environment for thousands of years that we adapted to how to survive. That's how I see things, and that plays into genetics. When you see people, we have pluses and minuses depending on where we're from. Yeah. But we are all very mixed. There's hardly any true one race anymore.
You know what the truth is?
Yeah.
I can look at a physique. Yeah. Forget the pros, okay?
Yeah.
So we can always tell Ronnie Coleman's physique from Jay Cutler's. We'll always be able to. We know who they are, okay?
Yeah.
But let's say if those people weren't in the public eye.
Yeah.
If you got me a black and white picture of a black guy and black and white picture of a white guy.
You know what colour they are?
I would 100%, just by the muscle tie-ins, insertions, the way the bellies look, everything, I will be 100% right, 100% of the time.
Of course, and that's why I say we all are different. That's what makes it so magical. Yeah. If we was all the same, it'd be boring,
it's
right?
It's not just about colour.
It's not about colour. Yeah. It's not about colour. And like I say, look, I've done my DNA test, right? I may just look white, but my DNA's from all over the world.
95% black, aren't you?
But I have good attributes.
I've not done mine.
No, I've done mine.
I'd like to know.
I've done mine. I've got a lot of part of Europe, which could be basically any hot countries. That's why I tan easy. Because I always used to think, why do I tan easy compared to a lot of white people? Why have I got?
You've got that melanin.
Yeah, the melanin.
Somewhere.
No, it comes from more Mediterranean background. There's a lot, 20-25% of that kind of Spain and Italy and Europe. So I tan easy, but we're all a mixture of different parts.
That is true. That
even from India, right, or Pakistan, right? I guarantee you, in your genetic code, there'd be somebody, your great-great-great-granddad,
well, I'll tell you what,
that could have been white.
If I look at myself, for example, and I look at my structure compared to the typical Asian guy,
it's different, right?
It's very different.
So your great-great-granddad
I know that.
may have been white or some other colour, right?
Or black.
Possibly, could have been.
Possibly, yeah. Because I don't know, because and if you're Asian and you're watching this, you guys know what I'm talking about. My structure isn't a typical Asian structure. Even though I just said a bit ago, I'll be able to tell who's black and who's white. I myself look very different, because I know that when I step on stage, I've stepped on stage at less than 10% body fat. So we know, I've got right down to it, and I've seen other structures.
Like Khan was Indian, right? Look at the size of him. Do you remember?
Yeah.
He wasn't the typical Indian,
Pakistani,
right?
He was Pakistani,
yeah, but not the typical Pakistani,
No, he
right?
wasn't. He wasn't. No, he was
genetic freak,
he was
right?
So Zach Khan, I don't really know him that well, but in the sense where his origin is more from like the mountainous regions, and those guys are bigger. Yeah, they're just more dense.
Down the line would have had an influx of different race coming in.
Absolutely,
like all over the world.
My friend you met recently, he's got green eyes.
There you go. And where do you think that comes from?
Well, Alexander the Great.
Well, it actually.
He went over there and just impregnated everybody.
It actually. I know that I'm going off track just because I studied it. It actually comes from Neanderthal times. Okay. The only reason we have blue and green eyes is because the human race merged with Neanderthal to survive through the Ice Age. That's why white people became white, because the influx because originally Homo sapiens were all African, and as they spread,
I agree with that.
As they spread across the world, we adapt to environment and food that we eat. We are human. We are part of the earth. So for thousands of years, what food we ate and what country and what heat we lived in will determine the skin color and the tone to our. This is why
the body adapts. It's like a defense mechanism.
It's like a defense mechanism. That's why white people are designed more for colder areas. Hence why we don't feel the cold as much as black people. My brother's mixed race, right? When it's cold, he's freezing. The black side of him, he has to wear all these clothes, right? Yeah. He can't handle the cold. But me, I can go out in shorts in the cold, right? Because we're adapted.
I have a lot of white guys, friends, and they're the same.
And you know, this is what this goes. I mean, we're going off track, but this is why people are racist is stupid, because we're all human, we're all one, we're all the same. Yeah, it's stupid for even people to think like that. But the most oldest British person that was found, if you look back, I've done my studies, so interesting, was actually black with blue eyes, with long hair. Okay. So he was the first merging of where Africans had spread there, which merged with Neanderthal, which then got through the Ice Age. The only reason humans survived the Ice Age is because these African guys would have seen these Neanderthals surviving in the cold. They're freezing their nuts off, and they think, well, what can we do to adapt and be like them? So what they did is they mated with them. So at one point,
Makes sense. I was doing it next time. Every time I'm cold, I was mate as well.
No, but that's why you see some white guys and they look proper Neanderthal.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, in their gene pool,
They would have it.
They'd have a bit more.
Yeah.
I
I think we need a new section that's called history.
I know I'm going off, but I know I'm going off. But what I'm getting to the point of,
it's good. The guys want to hear it.
What I'm going to get to the point of is that's why it interests me, because it goes part and parcel with bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Because as I'm coaching people and their genetics, I have to give them a style of training, a style of food. Like he's from Pakistan, so they will use more fats in their diet for hundreds of years, right? That's why you don't need a lot of carbs in your diet to fill up.
I don't. But
right?
what you don't know nowadays is since Churchill came over there, it's another history lesson. They put them on a heavily flour-based, wheat-based diet.
Yeah, to probably dumb them down and numb them down.
Well, it was that, and the other reason was there was a bit of a famine going on.
Yeah, it's
they
cheaper
needed,
but what I'm saying is, not over the last couple hundred years, I'm talking about thousands of years.
Oh, yeah.
So they're
It goes way back.
adapted.
It goes way back.
So
Yeah, it
that's
goes way
why
back.
when I'm dieting people, I notice, and yourself, what you were saying earlier, he said if he gets on stage when he's doing bodybuilding, he didn't need a lot of carbs to carb up.
No.
That's because his body and his genetics are more sensitive to the insulin sensitivity to carbs than what I am. Whereas white people are mainly based potato, rices, lots of high carbohydrate diets.
A lot of white guys have oats.
And it's in their diet for thousands of years.
I have oats, I'm like this. I'm
Exactly, because you're not genetically, like I say, when we adapted to foods in that side of the world, we adapt to what what they are and how they break down in our body. And this is why it interests me, because it's all part and parcel of bodybuilding. And that's why you will respond different to me, I will respond to different foods, and that's why there is no one size fits all, like we were saying earlier. And that's why bodybuilding to me is so interesting, because it's what we are as human
one of the
beings.
reasons, when I first met you, like 2 or 3 weeks ago in the gym, and we had a little discussion about this.
Yeah.
I just want to touch upon this topic. And I always heavily relied on fats. I tried carbohydrates, they didn't work. I had loads of fats, and I thought fats seemed to work with me.
They do.
And I could go, and with fats, they're very dense.
Yeah.
So if you want to count calories, I could go all the way up to 4 or 5k calories and still be leaner than the guy on 2k calories.
Yeah.
So I knew that there's something is not right there. Genetically, my makeup is a little bit different.
Yeah.
So I was more heavily dependent on fat. It was only until, actually, I've never heard of anybody else until I met you.
Yeah.
That you said to me, because you're from that part of the world.
Yeah. You respond better to fats.
Might work with you. And it was interesting because I'd always known that it did work.
You know
for me,
itself,
and I
but
know
you don't know why.
And no one had ever said it like you said it.
Yeah, because
so
I break
thought,
it down.
Okay, do you know what? So even at my age, and I've been in this game a long time, I've never really heard anyone say it like that.
Yeah.
And when I met Jace for the first time, we had that conversation. We were stood outside, and I thought that's interesting. I know that to be true.
Yeah.
I've pushed that out, but I just couldn't word it in the right way. And now you mentioned it, you brought it to light, and I thought that's exactly what it is.
And that's what I promote. I'm not a nerd, science-based everything, right? There's coaches out there that will give you all the terminology, all of the science behind everything. And yes, I've read science, I understand science, but me, I'm kind of like very instinctual. I'm very down to earth. I'm very like one with nature, yeah? So that part of me is who I am. So that's why I studied evolution of humans, and that's why it goes concurrently with my bodybuilding knowledge. We're all different. I have to bring something to the table, and that's what I did. So I know when you said that, what it was, but somebody that doesn't study that or know about that wouldn't understand what I'm saying.
Like, everyone thinks glycemic index is the same for
everybody's
everybody.
the same, and everybody must run the same.
Exactly.
And I must give you Cocoa Pops for fucking post-workout.
But this is the thing.
But it doesn't mean it's going to work for you.
I was just going to say about the Cocoa Pops, the glycemic index.
Yeah.
Now everyone thinks glycemic index and Cocoa Pops is this.
Yeah.
It's not this, because it's this for that guy, and it's this for that guy.
Yeah.
That's what they don't understand.
For a white person, they probably find that easy to digest,
I bang my head against the wall trying to explain to people glycemic index is different for each individual.
Exactly.
Not different for each food group.
Exactly.
Yes, we all know grapes or strawberries are going to be higher on glycemic index than rice.
Right.
But each person can metabolize that differently. That's
because we're all different.
Exactly, and I've been trying to promote that, and that's why I'm on the channel right now trying to promote this.
Yeah. So that's another angle for you to think about. Don't just think because some guy in the gym eats Cocoa Pops and gets in shape, that means you have to.
Don't do it. Don't do Cocoa Pops. I'm glad you said that.